It's about the nervous system really letting go of some worry and able to relax in a way that you can actually perform and do the thing naturally.
People say believe in yourself. One, I wasn't sure that I believed in what they wanted me to believe in, and I didn't even know how to do that, what that would constitute, and who is this self that I need to believe in.
Self-belief also has to do with giving yourself permission to act on something that you enjoy or that excites you or that matters, that you give yourself the permission to act on, even though when the outcome and the results are not certain yet.
When we watch soccer, something happens that has nothing to do with soccer and everything to do with it. Welcome to the Golden Ball, where depth psychology and the beautiful game help us play life better. My name is John O'Brien, former World Cup soccer player and current sports psychologist.
My name is Michiel Klerk, psychotherapist, lover of the game and founder of Jung Platform.
And my name is Akke-Jeanne Klerk. I'm a personal development coach, a teacher and co-founder of Jung Platform. So today we are going to explore the topic of believing in yourself. And let's start with what that is. What is self-belief?
Yeah, it's a great first question because you can take it in many ways. One way is that you believe what usually people refer to as somewhat of believing in your own capabilities, in your own talent, that you're capable of doing the task, the job, and that is some form of self-belief. And then in that cluster, you have self-confidence and self-esteem that usually are lumped in. But believing in your own capabilities, I would start there.
I'm excited for this conversation just because there's so much related concepts we can talk about. Self-belief, I throw in self-concept, right, is one term. Self-efficacy is like what you said, Michiel, of like believing in your own capabilities. And often that comes from actually doing the thing. You know, I can do the thing, I've done the thing, I can do it again. So I'm real excited to kind of circle this and you know, the ways people talk about it and the ways, you know, maybe it gets misused or it's talked, oh, you got to believe in yourself. And that's not really helpful, where it's maybe better, or it can be an obstacle to us actually kind of living our life and doing well. So I'm excited to talk about how this topic shows up in so many ways.
When you said that also as the obstacle, when people, I've had that in the past, people say, believe in yourself. One, I wasn't sure that I believed in what they wanted me to believe in, and I didn't even know how to do that, what that would constitute, and who is this self that I need to believe in. So there's a lot of complex things that come when people try to be helpful, like believe in yourself. It feels like have confidence.
I do think of things like trust, right? Have confidence, trust. They really want you, I think of the nervous system. I use that a lot in my work with clients, and it's really been helpful to me to think about situations. But like believe in yourself or trust yourself or have confidence, right? It's about the nervous system really letting go of some worry, and able to relax in a way that you can actually perform and do the thing naturally, right? Where you can kind of don't get stuck in your thoughts or don't get physically, a lot of athletes physically get tight, then they can't move as fluidly and respond as fluidly. So in there, I think there is some instruction that people don't, it's not accurate on what they want you to do, right? More specific, hey, you're nervous, take a breath, see if you can calm your nervous system. Let's see if we can do this and bring your full effort to it. What do you think, Akke-Jeanne?
Yeah, I was thinking in a similar direction that self-belief also has to do with giving yourself permission to act on something that you enjoy or that excites you or that matters, that you give yourself the permission to act on it, even though when the outcome or the outcome is, and the results are not certain yet. So that permission is, I think, a really important aspect of self-belief.
You hear it very often. People want to write something and they just don't do it. Am I good enough? Do I really have something to contribute to the world? Massive amount of doubt creeps in. And probably before that self-belief, it starts with a kind of, if we look at indigenous cultures, where indigenous cultures are formed somewhat more in tribal and in groups. And so you have maybe you have the drummer, and then there is someone in the group that also drums, and then the drummer will recognize in the person who starts drumming that they share a similar spirit, the drumming spirit. And so the older figure blesses the younger figure, almost like a mentor, and he sees something in them, and then they believe in the spirit that person has, and then they can believe in it. And it reminds me that over the weekend I watched an interview with Mike Tyson, where Mike said he met his mentor at the age of 12, Gus D'Amato. And Gus D'Amato told him, "You're going to be the greatest fighter of all time." And Mike Tyson started to believe in that. So there you have a very helpful initial start of self-belief.
Interesting. Like you talk about the recognition from outside of the talent, and I think that relates to that. It can be really difficult to see the level of your talent or the level of your skill. You know, when you watch programs like music programs or talent programs, sometimes people that sing really well don't know how well they can sing. And you can see the opposite as well. So to have someone outside recognize your talent can really help with believing in yourself, or at least start that process of allowing yourself to act on it. Let's see where it takes me without knowing where it will take you.
Did you have those people, John, at Ajax that recognized your talent and that you noticed that you could flourish a little bit more because they saw something in you?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. That mentor relationship can be so important. And I think of it as fitting really for like teenage, late teenage into adults. For some reason, that time period seems maybe extra sensitive to having someone who believes in you, right? You're moving out of the family system and into kind of a work system. So I was playing on the reserve team at Ajax. I had a contract with the reserve team, playing some left back. And we had Jan Wouters came in, an old professional, right? Had a lot of prestige with him, having won the European championships, played at Bayern Munich. And he came in and he saw something in me. I was playing a lot of left fullback and kind of bouncing around the team my first year. He came in and he's like, "I want you to play defensive center mid." And there was a player whose spot I took, who a lot of people in the academy were going like, "Oh, this is a great player." And he saw something in me that was different. And in his actions of just like, "Hey, I see you as this." It really felt significant and gave me a lot of confidence. He was also really approachable, right? In all of our interactions, I felt like he wanted to teach me. I think he liked me. And I think with a mentor relationship, there has to be some chemistry there, right? Where there's some liking that also happens. And it was huge for my career. I had a great year in the second team there. He helped me get a first team contract because he believed in me and advocated for me. And then I got loaned out to Utrecht, one of his old clubs where I could kind of hone my craft a little more before coming back to Ajax. So really a pivotal person, believing in me, seeing something in me. And what that did for me, right, that allowed me just to play a little bit more free, right? That doubt or that sense of like, oh, I gotta prove, or concerned about what the coach is thinking, that kind of was able to fade away, and I could just kind of trust myself a little more and play a little more freely.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I wonder, you know, because here there's an outsider that believes in you. And of course, when we're too dependent on an outsider to believe in us, it's also something that you see in people that believe too little in themselves. So somewhere in the process, the belief of an outsider must turn to a belief in oneself, or at least a willingness to trust what comes up. So how does that work then?
Well, I think that is where people very often say believe in yourself, and that can work because you have somewhat a sense of you have the capability and the talent, and once you know somewhat that you have the capability of the talent, you can start fostering it internally, acting accordingly, imagining opportunities. If you can imagine that you can win the game, and not that you see the scoreboard with 2-0, but that you see yourself pass a person, score a goal, that you see opportunities, and that you see yourself do that. That is one way in which imagination can foster self-belief.
It's wonderful and it's tricky. Like in sports psychology, you talk a lot about maybe trusting the process, and focusing on what you can do, right? What are your cues that you're focusing on in order to have the outcome take care of itself?
I think self-belief also has a link with inner authority. That something in you, that you have the ability or the skill to make choices and decisions that are in alignment with your own nature. And that inner authority, rather than listening to an outer authority or sticking to the rules and playing life by the game of an outer authority, really playing the game of life in the way that you want to play it. And so in order to have that skill to know what's good for you, of course, some level of self-knowledge helps to understand who you are, to see the fullness of who you are, not just who you want to be, or the part of you that has adapted over life, but also the parts that you prefer to keep hidden. Like what we call in Jungian psychology, the shadow, like fear or anger. It's really difficult to believe yourself if you want those parts to be hidden and not come out, because the more you repress it, they start having a life of their own, and suddenly they pop up, right? So to foster self-belief is really getting to know yourself and accepting who you are, not just getting to know yourself, feeling comfortable or starting to tolerate that this is maybe also part of who I am. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think where I see it with athletes is like excessive monitoring of the environment, right? Athletes who aren't comfortable with themselves, who've maybe repressed part of themselves. And some of this you can trace back to maybe family of origin and how people were treated in their family. But athletes who are really paying a lot of attention to what other people think of them, how sometimes that motivates people to perform well in ways, but it's really shallow and it breaks easily, right? You can't control what other people are going to think. You can influence it by your performance, but you don't really have control over it. So that's something I come to work with sometimes, is helping people let go and recognize that they're scared really of what people might think of them, and how that is to kind of let themselves express themselves on the soccer or sport field.
And then you're back to, in what self do you believe? Because we have these internal voices that, these Jungian complexes that say you can't do it, or you cannot win, or you start dribbling with the ball, and then you have self-monitoring thoughts, or you start anticipating, so you get out of the flow. And these complex voices, you don't want to believe too much. You just want to maybe have them like clouds or rain, it's happening, but you don't want to proactively have conversations with critical inner voices.
Yeah, because I wonder, what does maybe healthy or a good amount of self-belief look like? What do you see in a person the moment that like, oh, this person has a good amount of self-belief? And I realized that by asking the question like that there are also not good amounts. We'll get there in a minute. Let's maybe see, like, how does a person with good self-belief look like? How do they relate to life?
Yeah, I think sometimes these can be the captains on the soccer team. Right. You use the word comfort, which I think really describes it, like a comfort with themselves. I was coaching at a college, and as a assistant coach, I jumped in and started playing with the team. And the captain of the team wanted to mark me, right? I was a former pro. He's like, I'm going to mark him. I'm going to really try to kind of get after him. And I had some good moves and I beat him a few times. And he was comfortable with it. He was like, you got me today. There was something about he was trying, he was striving. If he won or lost didn't matter, but he was trying his thing and he was real comfortable with themselves. And other people, I think, can feel that, right? In a relationship, you can feel when someone's comfortable with themselves, when they're open to other people, right? That's one diagnostic thing. If people can't really see other people or pay attention to them, if they're too preoccupied with their internal world, there's probably a lot going on there and there's not a sense of comfort. So there's certain people where I feel like comfort, trust, you could see it in their body language and how they relate to people.
But it comes back to then you're in the flow. And when you're in the flow, you hit that sweet spot of self-belief. And you perform at your best. But there are variations, especially in sports and in soccer, is you see a lot of teams being 2-0 behind. It's minute 88. And do they continue to believe that they can win the game, or do they give up? And we know that there's enough miraculous escapes, and we will see that at the World Cup, of teams that score in the last minute. In mythology, it was that the goddess Nike, where the shoe brand, of course, comes from, the goddess of victory would visit a person, and there was a sudden shift. And so also, you must believe in yourself till the final whistle, because things can change.
Yeah. So when you believe too little, like for example at the end of the game or somewhere in your own personal life in a different area, when you believe too little, you might play it safe, or you don't go anymore full for what you want, or the commitment is gone, or maybe you even get to a point of avoidance, or that you shy away from the real challenge. That's how a lack of belief manifests in behavior.
In the beginning, you need to have a little bit like in the Jungian psychology, the eternal youth that is enthusiasm and maybe a slightly excessive belief, but that lifts a person up. That takes them from the ground. Whether you start a company and you believe that it's going to be a worldwide company, or you could write a book and there's part of you that thinks this is going to touch millions of people. Maybe it doesn't, but it is the necessary fuel to get from the ground, because moving from 0 to 1 is very difficult. So it's great to have. Maybe in the first phase a little bit too much belief, and then with real life feedback you get to healthy belief, and that's the other sweet spot. So you have two problems: not having a belief in yourself, and then you have belief in yourself, creates a problem. How do you have healthy belief in yourself?
Yeah, there's a Jungian analyst, Joseph Lee, who always likes the phrase, reality is medicinal. And I think of that a lot, and like how it can help people kind of adjust their ego and their energy level. I think of one time when I was young and I was kind of starting to be a little bit of a good soccer player. And I went and played tennis with a friend. So I'm like, okay, I'm good at sports. I should be able to beat him. I didn't. He was whooping my butt. I thought I'd grow into the game over time, and I got so frustrated. I actually like smashed the racket. And it was funny, right? Like I had this kind of self-concept to shift a little bit, like a self-concept of myself being good at sports. And that needed a little bit of check. It was like, no, I'm good at soccer, and yeah, I can play other sports. But little did I know, my friend, he wasn't in competitive tennis, but he did. His whole family played tennis. They'd go out on weekends and play tennis. He was athletic enough. Like it made sense. And so my kind of skills in one domain didn't fit with another. And I think that was a good little bit of medicine for me, right? Of the ego. The danger was the ego getting too inflated. Like I'm good at everything. I can kind of do everything. And it gave me a little check in a little direction.
I think that is a lovely example of believing a little bit too much in yourself. I think it happens to everyone, and this is and sometimes you really see it play out in people who are in sports. You know, I sometimes wonder with someone who's been a great soccer player. Not every good soccer player necessarily is also a good trainer or coach. That they might be believing too much a little bit in themselves. Yeah, so that idea, or you can see it with psychologists as well. You know, when they believe a little bit too much in themselves, they might feel like, oh, there's nothing to learn anymore for me, or and I think that lack of willingness or that lack of openness to be learning or to be like you said, the check with reality, that the curiosity has gone. That there's a belief I'm already there. I don't have to put the effort in. You know, when those are maybe signs of someone believing maybe a little bit too much in
that is
themselves.
grandiosity, and so it's a fine balance. You need a little bit of grandiosity to lift off, and then the reality principle. You need to be open enough to take feedback in, so that you have enthusiasm and joy, and find that sweet spot of believing in yourself, and you can nurture it in certain ways. It's an art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think one of the kind of tragedies of this is that people are permeable. Like we think we're not permeable sometimes, right? But like, we're influenced by how other people think about us, how other people interact with us, right? That's how our selves formed in groups, right? We've evolved as a group animal. We pay attention to others. We work together very well with each other. So these are all kind of instinctive things that affect us. We're not always in control of kind of how we think or how we act.
And we see, especially with these big soccer stars, that everyone, the stadium cheers, the people around them tell great things about them. Their broker, or how you call it, says great things, how fantastic they are. And then at once they think they're so fantastic, and then they don't want to do defensive work anymore, or make the meters. And they become a disadvantage to have in your team. Well, they could be, the bright star.
Yeah. Surely you have a myth or a fairy tale about some prince in the castle that like it's treated this way.
I think the most classic myth is Icarus. Icarus, who thinks that he can fly, and he can fly. And then he flies too close to the sun, and then he crashes. And there's also something in the audience that loves the hero to fly, and then they love the hero to fall. It's baked into the human system. But it's also, we need to find the right balance. In fairy tales, Marie-Louise von Franz identified in her book Evil and Fairy Tales 3 situations that attract evil. One would be drinking, the other would be loneliness, and the one that applies to this is arrogance. So if you would be arrogant, something evil would happen in the fairy tale. You get in the hands of the evil witch or the bad wizard. But in day-to-day life also, too much arrogance will activate your own shadow, or you get the shadow from the outside world, and your performance goes down. Or in regular life, you get unnecessary obstacles or unwanted obstacles that where hopefully the reality principle helps you get back to humility and enthusiasm.
Yeah, so the right amount of self-belief is really important. Too much self-belief gets you in all kinds of trouble. And in the previous episode, we talked about striving for gold. And if you want to strive for gold and maximize your potential and really get to know who you are and express yourself as far as you can, that belief in yourself is necessary. And sports people can be inspirational, but really practicing self-belief, or maybe even fostering or having some kind of practice to have it grow or to have it evolve, is really essential for that self-expression.
And there it comes again back to the individual having that you can see it. So if you write a book, that you can see yourself writing the book, and that you can see it go out. Not that you just think, I can see myself in the New York Times as a bestseller. That's also a form of seeing and believing, but it's more that you can see it. And when you can see it, you can start putting your actions in alignment. And then, of course, we have reality giving indications, but a certain form of seeing is part of this believing. And there you get that belief is a reality creating principle. You can see it in dreams, but in for example, the placebo effect. Placebos, so you give someone an innate substance and they get better. Why do they get better? It's not the innate substance. Part of that is they believed that they would get better. And because they believed it, it happened. It's not one-on-one, that's very important, but it's a very important reality-creating principle, believing in a future that something can happen.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that, I think it's important, right? We talk about role models and having people who you can identify with, people who look like you, act like you, have similar personalities, maybe from the same family, who've done what you've done, like how much that helps in creating that vision, right? And they talk about people just, I never knew I could do that. Like that just, I grew up in this culture in this way. I didn't have any models for that. I never knew that was a possibility, that thing. So that has a big impact, what we see other people doing as well.
Yeah, what I like what you say there is also that you need a little bit of a challenge. If you want to realize your potential, you need to be tested and sometimes be faced with the situations that you don't know yet how you'll get out. But something in you has to risk it. I always like talking about James Hollis, because he has those 2 questions, that if you're facing a decision or if you're facing a challenge and you've got to make a decision or you need to act, that you ask yourself the question, does it make me larger or does it make me smaller? Meaning, does it make me larger in the sense, am I invited to become more of who I am, or am I shying away and go into hiding? Because for the realization of your potential, of course, you need to become larger in that aspect. So being challenged, looking for challenges, is really essential. And of course, the moment that you face a challenge, the essential ingredient there is you don't know the outcome.
Yeah.
But still you're going to move forward.
And we have to do things to learn.
Yeah.
I once bought a drum because I loved with some of my teachers that they would be drum and in a kind of ceremonial way, and then I thought I want that too. And I just noticed that I don't really have the skill. I don't find myself practicing. I just don't really have the talent. I would love to have the talent because I think it's great, but I don't really have it. And so I tried something. I even believed in that I could, and I couldn't.
And there's some way you let it go.
Yeah.
And shifted. You didn't say stuck and fighting yourself over it, which sounds like a skill. Yeah, bringing it back to the World Cup, and I think this is like sports' role in society really is like as a symbol of striving, right? It's striving, it's having courage to do things you're not that great at as you kind of strive for excellence. So there's a bravery. That's something I really like about doing sports psychology, right? Sitting with people, they're worried about some performance or something happening. And it's like, okay, well, can you tolerate it? Can you face it? What's the gold on the end that you're reaching towards, right? I love what you said, Akke-Jeanne. Does it make you bigger? Yeah, that's where I want to go. There's a saying that confidence sometimes comes after you do the thing, right? So I want to say that because some people think like, oh no, I have to believe, or I don't believe it yet. I don't believe it. Well, sometimes you got to do things you're unsure how they're going to turn out, and you get a little bit of feedback from it, and then you can keep working on growing. And that's what fosters meaningful confidence, right? That belief, self-efficacy, belief you can do it. You can put the work in to kind of get further in something.
Yeah. And here you can see, in life in general, fear can really be a big obstacle in your striving for gold, in doing what you really want. I think we all have the question, do we live the life that we want to live? Do we live the life that is truly ours to live? And when we're doing that and really following our own path, fear will come up. We might fear a rejection from others, or we fear that we're facing a challenge that is bigger than us and that we won't survive. And that can be literal survival or more symbolic survival. So that fear of being overwhelmed, or that fear that you no longer belong, that can be a real obstacle in believing in yourself as well. Because what if believing yourself brings a result that you're so afraid of? So it's easier to
you
play it
believe
safe.
in the wrong self, the wrong inner voices.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
I think as I hear you talking, I'm also thinking of the word destiny. There was last World Cup, and I watched something that was talking about Argentina and Messi describing how he just had a sense that they would win, right? Which I think, right, these things can be really minuscule, believing you can win, believing in yourself that comes maybe more from your ego or trying to believe versus like a knowing or destiny. And I was thinking about that and how, right, that affected him probably in a way where he trusted in some way in himself, and the behaviors that came from feeling like, oh, I think we're going to win. I just kind of sense it, and how people end up acting as a result of it. People get into trouble, I think, trying to create those sensations. Sometimes you're laying something on reality versus like it coming up naturally. And this is something I feel like Jungian psychology does such a great job of talking about, these more transcendental states. But I think that's what happened there. It was a sense of destiny that affected his behavior, right? 3-3, like most epic World Cup final. Argentina kept playing and they end up winning. And I have to think his feelings there really had an impact on the result.
And then you bring in something new. That is not only this belief in oneself, but the sense of a visitation by a transcendental state, or the gods, or some divine intervention that gives the feeling of this is destiny, and that is it's not.
Yeah, and when you say that, Michiel, how does that translate to a person's life, like that visitation or that transcendental feeling?
I think that is hard work creates a certain mental, personal attitude, makes one open to divine visitations. And after that, it is whether you call it luck or destiny or Nike, grace, and then there's some interplay with something else that comes in. So that is more an gift that you can open up to the gift, but there's an other involved that is not makeable by. It lies outside of the makeability. I think you sometimes talked about Oprah with luck, and what was that?
Yeah, being ready for when opportunity arises, or being prepared when opportunity comes. And yeah, indeed, that does take it away a little bit from random, but there's inner work still to do, and then it might arrive, that opportunity, or not. That's outside your hand, but at least
and
you
maybe
came
Mbappé
prepared.
had the same feeling,
Yeah.
but 8 other of his teammates didn't. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think belief in a team. We could go on a whole another podcast, I think, on team belief, because that's a real thing, right? Like how it can reside in the individual, but then a team can kind of believe in something. And again, I want to be cautious, because I think last World Cup, the U.S. played Holland in the first game out of the pool play, and the U.S. had this kind of rising belief that I think in some ways got in their way, right? There's things they were good at and things they need to stick to. And at some point they were really trying to play a lot of offense, and that's not the US's strength, right? It was kind of like, oh, let's just believe and go for it, right? And it kind of took away from the strategy of how to beat them. And so I want to be cautious about saying it, but teams, it definitely has an impact. And throughout the tournament, it's something every team's going to be dealing with, right? As they start to learn who they are. Oh, we won that game. We tied that game. We got further. Like, is belief rising? There's a general excitement around that's fueling all of it. So there's a big outside influence.
And
it's a big
are we
factor.
going to be happy with the semifinal? Or some teams would sign for that. If we reach a semifinal, it's a success. Or can you be in the semifinal and believe, and really believe, and play the game to win, so that you get to the final and win as well. And I have to see with Holland if they have the. I think that Louis van Gaal brought in 4 years ago a belief in themselves, and that the team could win. We have to see if the current coach truly believes that they can win deep in his bones, or that he's going to actually be happy with if he becomes to the semi-final.
And I think it is indeed interesting to watch how that will play out. But you also introduce a new idea, like that you want to believe in yourself, but then of course there's also a system. And what if the system doesn't believe in themselves, or maybe the coach doesn't believe in themselves? Then you get even challenged into believing in yourself, right? Like the coach wants you to play safe, and you want to take the risk and know I want to allow myself, I want to give myself the permission to go after where I feel like the impulse wants to take me. But how much of that can you risk, or are you willing to risk when there's someone in authority, or the system has a different belief? So sometimes that is an extra challenge to believe in yourself when others
Well, and it's
don't.
fun for the people to watch the coaches alongside. Some will be yelling. You have Carlos Ancelotti with Brazil, who usually has a calm demeanor, appears to be really good in tournament coaching. But there are also people that yell a lot and win the game. But they can look at what is the belief of the coach, and does that anxiety spill into the team, or gives them the right motivation?
Yeah. From a practical standpoint, I'm thinking, again, athletes playing on the front foot. It's a way to describe it, like offensively. And what I mean by that is like trying to do the things you think are going to help you win. Or defensively, are you a little bit on your heels and trying to stop other things from happening, right? And so some part of self-belief is letting yourself kind of, yeah, we got our skills, we can beat this team. And I always think for a tournament, it's way easier to say like, hey, can we beat each team? Yeah. Every time you could beat each team. That's a lot easier to imagine than winning, 8, 9 games. So can you kind of trust in your process enough that you can still be a little bit on the front foot and trying to kind of attack the moment, even if that's with defensive tactics, which is confusing for people, right? Our best way to win is going to be to defend hard. Okay, that's what we're sticking to. Let's do it. But yeah, again, bringing it back to kind of the nervous system and how belief kind of affects people negatively and takes them out of kind of their best place to play
like
from.
You bring in, chunk up the belief in smaller portions. Like if a person just can believe I can write the first chapter of my book, or I can make one song, not I see this album and get an Emmy, but do I believe I have the quality, the skill set to write a song? Yes, I have. All right, I'm just going to focus on this one song. That's all. And then take it from there. So I think it's a great practical skill for also anyone that watches or listens. Chunk up your task and believe in the first step.
Yeah, and related to that, probably with a realization of your own talents and of living really your life. Believing in yourself is something that needs daily practice, or sounds a little bit like it's homework, but that it becomes easier to believe in yourself when you challenge yourself in those small moments. That it's growing over time without it becoming rigid. I think we're very clear on that. That self-belief is not once attained and then check, you can lean back. I mean, it still asks something.
So summary, it's going to be hard. It's going to be painful. And there's some beauty to be had there.
Yeah, and I think one of you said, see it as an art. It helps to see it as an art, not something to grasp or something to master, but really something to enjoy and to
it's not a formula. It's a way of being. That's the
flourish.
Art.
Yeah,
and the art needs practice and joy and can be medicinal.
Yeah. Right.
yes.
And so for our listeners,
any final suggestions? Indeed.
Yeah, I was thinking, just dovetailing off that, like an invitation to this dynamic, right? Of finding what matters to you, believing in it, dealing with other people's opinions, their beliefs, dealing with reality checks, what reality is showing you, and learning to kind of navigate this with some kindness, some softness for yourself, right? It's an invitation to this process. It's very much like the human process of maturing, really. So that'd be an attitude I would invite people into.
Yeah, you want to also look at where on the spectrum am I? Am I not yet believing, or am I already believing? It requires different skills and different challenges, and just play the game, and play the game that with the belief that you can win. Then and then see what happens.
And I would suggest to ask that question that I had earlier in making a decision or facing a challenge. Whatever I want to do, does it make me bigger or smaller or larger?
Beautiful. Great, John and Akke-Jeanne. And I thank you. And I look forward to the next episode. And we hope that the listeners, watchers will join us again.